is 12:30. I'm Julie Broughton. This is News 6 Extra. Thank you so much for joining us to get all caught up on your news and weather headlines. And in case you haven't heard, we finally have the first named storm of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. Tropical Storm Andrea out there in the Atlantic. Not a threat to any land areas, but we will have the very latest on that for you coming up in just a few minutes. And also, we'll talk more about our threat of strong to severe storms for your Wednesday. That is coming up in just a few minutes as well, as we take a look at your full 7-day forecast. But first today, we begin in Lake County, where it has been nearly 3 weeks since suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez was arrested on racketeering charges. Yesterday at noon, we first told you that his estranged wife is now in the Lake County Jail as well. News 6's Angie Casada has been covering the story from the very beginning, and she tells us this latest arrest is all centered around bank records.
This afternoon, 50-year-old Robin Severance Lopez is being held on a $400,000 bond here at the Lake County Jail and charged with conspiracy to commit racketeering. In court this morning, prosecutors painted a sharp picture of her alleged involvement, claiming she helped facilitate illegal money for a racketeering operation that brought in over $21 million. She's now the seventh person charged in the case.
That she served the enterprise primarily through her partnership with Marcos Lopez, her husband and the then acting sheriff of Osceola County.
State attorneys say they have texts, emails, and a photo from a holiday party showing her with other co-conspirators. And while she initially claimed not to know them, that photo contradicts her story. But it was her finances that raised eyebrows in court.
And at her arrest on yesterday, the defendant had 2 bank receipts in her possession indicating she had made 2 deposits, one in the amount of $117,000 dated June 11th, and an additional $60,000 deposit dated June 13th, both of which were made approximately 1 week after Marcos Lopez's arrest.
And it doesn't stop there.
Yet, nonetheless, upon his arrest, she offered a property towards his collateral to help post his bond. They do not operate as a married couple. I would suggest to this court that the stronger relationship between them is that of co-conspirators.
The judge set strict conditions if she posts bond, GPS monitoring, surrender passports and firearms, and no contact with Marcos Lopez. Severance Lopez has been unemployed for most of the last several years, though she's recently held a job for the past 2. Yet according to the state, she still has $123,000 in a bank account. She and Marcos filed for divorce in 2023 and share a 15-year-old child. Her next court date is set for July 21st. Of course, we'll keep you updated to see if she bonds out or not. For a full breakdown of the timeline of this case, as well as exclusive video of her arrest, make sure to visit clickorlando.com. Reporting in Lake County, Angie Casada, News 6.
Tonight, leaders in Astatula are set to decide whether to approve a year-long development moratorium. Now, this would only apply to new projects, not ones that have already been approved. News 6's Emily McLeod reports from Lake County.
As Lake County continues to grow, communities like Astatula continue to toss around the idea of a development moratorium in order to slow things down. I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod. Now, if approved, the moratorium on development would last for 12 months. I sat down with Astatula's mayor and talked to him about why he thinks the moratorium would be the best move for Astatula.
How are you feeling ahead of Tuesday's meeting?
I feel good. It's something that our residents want. It's something that I've been advocating for a while.
Astatula Mayor Zane Teeters is talking about the proposed 12-month moratorium on development and annexation.
What we need to do is just slow it and manage the growth that we have, let our infrastructure have time to catch up.
When we first brought you this story, Mayor Teeters was concerned about the water plant not being able to keep up with the demand. But during our conversation on Monday, the mayor told me the town has been awarded a $700,000 grant for upgrades.
We are currently waiting for a release of funds, and what we'll use that money for is we're planning on erecting a 250,000-gallon tank. We currently run on a 10,000-gallon tank.
The mayor says the moratorium will allow time for the town to catch up in other areas like hiring. How many positions are you all hoping to fill?
Currently, there are 2 open positions in our Public Works Department. We also are looking to staff Parks and Recreation. Again, more people, more demand for services. We have 2 beautiful parks here in Astatula, but we have no park staff. So programs and
None
stuff,
at all.
none. Zero.
No, so you're in the process of creating a Parks and Rec department right now?
I am.
Astatoula isn't the first Lake County community to toss around the idea of a development pause. Leesburg considered the same thing back in April, but it was ultimately struck down. The mayor doesn't want to stop growth, he just wants to make sure it's done responsibly.
If the moratorium was to be lifted in 12 months, my hope is that at that point we'll be able to manage the growth again responsibly. But we'll lose the charm that we have here.
If approved, the moratorium would go into effect immediately, and the town would have the option to renew it at 11 months. Tuesday's special meeting is set to take place here at the Astatoula Town Hall beginning at 6 p.m. I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
Now to some consumer news, and something that I know probably frustrates all of us when we're ordering food or booking hotels or even just using online payment methods. A lot of times we run into those hidden fees. Now, a new federal rule is targeting some of the biggest offenders. News 6 Morning Anchor Crystal Moyer has the latest from the experts at Consumer Reports on how this could impact your wallet.
Let me tell you about what happened on my honeymoon.
Travel agent Shay Martin recently told her social media followers about the $600 resort fee that caught her by surprise on her honeymoon a few years ago.
I just wanted to share that and let people know that it's something to look out for. And I did call out that it has started to change.
That change is thanks to a new FTC rule now in effect. It requires full price transparency for hotels, short-term lodging, and live event tickets, so you'll know the total price before booking, making it easier for consumers to avoid surprises.
Americans are sick and tired of getting hit with hidden fees that jack up prices and take a big bite out of their wallets. This is a big step in the right direction, but much more needs to be done.
That's because the FTC rule only addresses a small piece of a much bigger problem. Hidden fees are still everywhere. Consumer Reports estimates the average family of four spends about $3,200 a year on junk fees.
These added costs hit hardest for families living paycheck to paycheck, especially in low-income communities.
Consumer Reports has some tips to stay a step ahead of some of these sneaky fees. Take flights, for example. You can sometimes avoid extra charges by booking directly through the airline or trusted travel agent and using the airline's app to check in. And when banking, switching to a low-fee or online bank and using in-network ATMs can save you from unnecessary charges. Smart moves to keep more money in your wallet.
And that was News 6 Morning Anchor Crystal Moyer reporting. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, News 6 Sports anchor Ryan Welch will introduce us to a very inspirational local athlete who is training for a big national event that is coming up next month. We'll also have the latest on our severe weather threat for tomorrow, as well as newly formed Tropical Storm Andrea way out there in the Atlantic. All of that's coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to News 6 Extra. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I'm Julie Broughton. The time now is 12:40. We'll get the latest on your 7-day forecast as well as newly formed Tropical Storm Andrea for you coming up in just a few minutes. But first, really interesting developments on a new kind of physical therapy that is helping patients bounce back quickly from life-altering injuries. News 6 anchor Bridget Ellison explains how high-intensity gait training works, and she introduces us to a grandfather who went into rehab in a wheelchair and walked out just weeks later.
I'm here at the Orlando Health Advanced Rehabilitation Institute. Behind me is the Zero-G treadmill. This is not like a regular treadmill at the gym. It is helping people get their lives back after traumatic spinal cord injuries.
So we're about to get on to a body weight support treadmill in order to kind of push the limits of Jeff's balance.
I wish you got my heart rate up again now.
The goal is to be able to get him into 70 to 85% of his heart rate max.
Back in March, fun-loving grandfather Jeff Irwin was severely injured on the playground. Attempting a flip off of a swing set landed him in the hospital, unable to move his body.
When I was on the ground just to sit there and let the paramedics take care of me, and God would watch over me and get me where I needed to be.
And he did.
And he did. And they did. So.
Orlando Health surgeons stabilized his spine with titanium screws and a plate, but he would need a special type of physical therapy called high-intensity gait training to get back on his feet.
To have it happen on a grandparents' day at the school and think, okay, will I ever get to hold him again? But I can.
Physical therapist Emily Slater helped Irwin learn to walk again.
What we're really looking at is he able to advance his own legs? Is he able to hold his own balance? And then what can I make a little bit harder to make his body work harder?
She says every patient's therapy plan is customized for their needs. Even high-intensity gait training routines vary.
In more severe cases, we have like an exoskeleton. If someone can't move at all, we can put them in the exoskeleton, and the exoskeleton can actually facilitate walking for them. And then we lastly also have a kind of independent harness, I would say. It's not hooked up into a ceiling, but we can take it anywhere in the hospital.
After about 4 weeks, Irwin walked out without any assistance.
It worked out because I'm up and moving now.
Slater credits not only the techniques, but his willpower week after week.
Jeff came in with a positive attitude every single day.
For Irwin, the motivation was showing his grandkids Pappy is back.
Now I get to go to their house and I can sit out there. They can run up to me. They can play. I can't lift them yet, but that's my next goal.
In Orlando, Bridget Ellison, News 6.
Still got.
That is great stuff. Looks like Pappy is doing well there, so we love to see that. Now we take you to Lady Lake. That is where News 6 sports anchor Ryan Welch introduces us to a very inspirational local athlete who is training for a big event coming up next month.
I'm News 6's Ryan Welch here in Lady Lake, a beautiful facility at this park. We have softball fields over there. We've got soccer fields over there. And look at this. There is a circle for people that want to throw the discus. They want to throw
Excuse me, sir, but you're on my way.
I can understand that. This is Tiny Kazel. She's in the middle of training for a huge upcoming national competition. You have to stay on your toes to keep up with Madeline Tiny Kazel.
Well, it keeps you young, for one thing. Keeps your body moving and keeps you healthy.
The soon-to-be 88-year-old who lives in the Villages is training for next month's National Senior Games in Iowa.
The competitiveness inside of me that wants to compete and perfect everything that I try to, do.
She's perfected a little bit of everything for the track and field team she created in the early 2000s.
And then come forward, turn, throw.
And has the hardware to prove it. She won 4 silver medals and a gold at the World Masters Athletics Competition in Ocala in March.
Winning, I guess, would be the thing, but that's what you go to do, and you practice for that. 1, 2, 3.
A Chicago native who loved gymnastics as a girl, Tiny's competitive fire burned early, and now she's training 4 days a week with some final goals on the horizon.
As soon as I hit 90, I want to break the records and set the records, and then quit.
The National Senior Games will run from July 24th through August 4th in Des Moines, Iowa. In Lady Lake, Ryan Welch, News 6.
I can't wait for his follow-up to see how Tiny did and show us all of her new medals. And I love that she's looking forward to new goals for when she turns 90. I think that's my favorite story of the week so far. Now let's get a check of your forecast. If you haven't heard, we do now have a named tropical system. This is not a factor for us. It is moving away from the U.S. You can see it is way out there in the Atlantic. We'll start you out with a look at the satellite imagery. And you can see as we loop over the last several hours, it's not looking terribly impressive out there, but we did see enough shower and thunderstorm activity firing through the overnight hours that as of 11 o'clock this morning, the National Hurricane Center officially named it Tropical Storm Andrea. Maximum sustained winds 40 miles per hour. It is moving to the east-northeast at 17 miles per hour, and we think within the next 24 hours or so, it will weaken into a remnant area of low pressure. So again, not a concern for any land areas. It is out there right between Bermuda and the Azores. So basically a fish storm. Here's what's happening for us right now as we sweep out on the radar. Again, if you look out over the Atlantic, we do have some showers and thunderstorms over the Atlantic and with an easterly flow in place that will help to slide those toward our coastline as we head through the afternoon hours. But again, much like we saw yesterday, our rain chances today are pretty limited. Here is the clouds and rain forecast by 5 o'clock, seeing some of those isolated showers that will continue pushing off toward the west. Then that any activity we see wraps up for us during the early evening hours. Overnight, I think we keep skies partly cloudy. But then through the day tomorrow, that's when we have a better chance of seeing some stronger or even severe storms. Because of that, the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma does have us at a level 1 out of 5. So a marginal risk for some severe storms, especially tomorrow afternoon. I think our biggest concern will be some of those gusty winds, maybe even some small hail. We will be here watching that for you. Right now, we are sitting at 90 in Orlando. It is 87 in Ocala and 87 in Melbourne. Factor in the relative humidity. Here's how it feels. Feeling like 100 in the Villages. It feels like 99 in Orlando. And it feels like 95 in Daytona Beach. Afternoon highs today going above our average high, which is 91. We'll talk about it 96 in Ocala. 93 in Orlando, and 94 for your high today in Leesburg. Here's how it looks for the next 7 days. Again, tomorrow we start to increase that chance of rain to 40%. And again, we're looking at that chance of some strong to severe storms. Rain chances go even a little bit higher for Thursday and Friday. That's where we leave it into the weekend with afternoon highs generally in the low 90s after morning lows in the low to mid 70s. We'll break down your full forecast and talk in much greater detail about that threat of some severe weather tomorrow. And of course, the very latest on the tropics for you starting on News 6 at 4. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon on News 6 Extra. We certainly appreciate it. I hope the rest of your day goes well, and I will see you at 4.